Hello and welcome to the Shifty Bitches podcast. I'm your usually very happy host, Carrie. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to tune in. I hope our time together provides you with some entertainment and a bit of inspiration. Let's get a little shifty, shall we? In this episode of Shifty Bitches, I'll dig into why the hell I quit my job. Fun fact, not because of this podcast, and what we both can learn from that experience and the aftermath. Out of respect for the company, and so I don't bore you to absolute tears, here's the high-level scoop of what happened. It's more for context than anything, so I'm leaving out a fair amount of details. Basically, it boils down to this. I was promised a raise and a title, and neither one of those things kept happening, like delayed over and over again. Anyway, what we learned from that was that patience actually does have an expiration date. Turns out mine has a shelf life of roughly 8 months. During that time, I was doing the job of 2 full-time employees, in anticipation of the raise and the title that were coming, and then all the excess would be given to another future employee. So I would eventually be doing the job of 1 employee. It was a slow boil, but once it got rolling, there was really no stopping it. I could no longer be 2 full-time people. So I put in my 2 weeks notice. I didn't even have another job to leap to at this point. So for perspective, I was willing to forego a paycheck rather than feeling taken advantage of any longer. It wasn't fair to me psychologically. So backtracking a bit before I put in that notice, my husband and I did have a really great, very honest conversation about the entire situation. We really dug into our finances to see if we'd be okay if I quit. Turns out being frugal does have its advantages. So after we had that chat that Monday, I put in my notice. 2 weeks later, I packed up my desk, gave back my laptop, and said goodbye to a group of people that I sincerely enjoyed working with, and really cool several product lines that I enjoyed also. Those 2 things I will miss for sure. Now, to be quite honest with you, because that's what all of this is about, if the company called me up today and offered me that job and salary that, we had been talking about and they had promised, I'd probably sign on the line, There's just something about it, but I just couldn't do it anymore. So why the hell am I telling you all this? Why does all of this matter? For several reasons, but the biggest one here is self-worth. Self-worth in this case being professional self-worth. This is typically something women struggle with more than men. We tend to cut ourselves short in many different ways. We sell ourselves short. We don't take the salaries we deserve. We ask for a low-end salary, so at least we can get that job, get in the door. I'm the one that you want. But sorry, ladies, or anybody, really, it doesn't always work that way. You might get the job because you went in low. But everything you earn at that company from that day forward is predicated on that number. Your raises, your bonuses, everything compounds based upon that number. So if you go in asking for more, valuing yourself higher, you in turn make more with your bonuses and raises and that sort of stuff over the years. I did the math. I won't bore you. I have a spreadsheet, surprise, surprise, but trust me, it is much higher. So asking for more in the beginning matters. Your raises and bonuses and everything are based upon that number. Now, I could probably talk about this for hours and why women do this, and basically you know what I'm talking about. We're we go into all of this trying not to offend people. We don't want to be labeled as difficult to work with, or we don't want to speak out because we don't want to be seen or labeled as emotional. Essentially, we just want to go in and be one of the guys, join that workplace. I'm guilty of it. I enjoy it. Men are usually easier for me to get along with than women, so I fall into this category absolutely. But I've got news for you, beautiful shifty bitches. You are not one of the guys. And that is an enormous asset. Moral of the story being, be the best you can be. Be the candidate they cannot ignore. But ahead of that, do some fucking soul searching. So you ask for the salary you deserve when you apply for that job that you crave. So as it turns out, this is way easier to say than it is to actually do. I, for one, have struggled with it for most of my life. Most of it. Actually, I can't remember a time where I didn't struggle with it. I still struggle with it. But now I'm able to manage it. It took some time, but I figured out a way. It's sort of silly, but it works. So what I do is I take myself out of the equation completely. In essence, I pretend I'm going to bat for somebody else. So one thing you should know about me is that I'm a much better advocate for others than for myself, which is why I think this works. So for whatever reason, it's just easier. Once I realized this about myself, I decided to use it as a tool to reframe things or reprogram my brain to think of it differently. Instead of thinking I'm terrible at advocating for myself, which is, a dangerous line of thinking. Like, negativity, that's not a negativity you need. If you tell yourself that over and over and over again, it's really going to sink in. And I wasn't a fan. So I took myself out of the equation and basically I pretend to go to bat for somebody else, right? So hypothetically, let's say my friend Kelly wanted a raise or a higher salary, or she was vying for a new job. How would I advocate for her? What would I say? What would I do? How would I act? I'm much more demure when I'm asking for things for myself. But when it comes to somebody else, especially someone that I genuinely care about or someone that I think deserves XYZ, I tend to fight tooth and nail. Nicely, because that's my style. But I fight for them, The more I do this, the more natural it's becoming for me to be bold and for me to be an advocate for myself. So reframing it in that way worked for me. Maybe it would work for you too. I do this for really big events also. I'm an introvert by nature. I have to turn on or flip the switch to bring out my extroverted side. I put myself in the mindset of being an extrovert. Trade shows are a lot of fun. They're like crazy retail, but on a really big scale. So I flip the switch and I become retail or trade show Carrie for the duration of that event. She's a lot more lively version than the subdued extrovert that the rest of the world tends to see. So another thing that has helped me find the confidence to advocate for myself is an external force in my life, my husband, Kevin. He is a huge advocate for me. He has helped me see my value professionally and more objectively than I can sometimes. He helps me see through that fog, through that cloud of personal and professional perceptions, which may not be true because the brain is a crazy thing. So, if you're in the process of getting a new job, invest the time into researching the salary and the demographic area which you'll be in and see how much wiggle room you have. Why not go high? It's okay for that being an advocate of yourself to fall into other parts of your life too. Actually, it probably really should. If you're going to the doctor's office, have the strength to ask the tough questions. You might not like the answers to them, but at least you asked. And if you're not sure you can do it, do what I do. I take a notebook. I write down all the things that I'm going to ask so I don't forget, because I get nervous in doctor's situations. So why not find a trick that works for you, whether it's pretending you're doing it for someone else or keeping notes and referring to those notes. You find your thing, you know? So do your research online, talk to people, pray to the God of your choice, meditate however you meditate. Mine's walking. I find great peace in being by myself or listening to podcasts. But the goal in the end is to have the knowledge, strength, and fortitude to stand up for yourself, to advocate for your value and your professional worth. As a little side note here, you have to be honest with yourself when it comes to your professional self-worth. For example, I knew the salary range for the job I was going to be doing. If I had fought for $1 million a year, they would have laughed me out of the company. And they should have, because it's not $1 million a year job. I also would never, ever find a marketing manager job at $1 million a year, because it's nuts. So you have to be realistic here, you know, like, not going to make $1 million. You're just not. And if you do want to make $1 million, find your own way there, because no one's going to give it to you. Find it. Anyway, so beyond knowing and advocating for your self-worth, another reason why I'm sharing all of this about leaving my job is a little less obvious on the surface. But it is very simple. It is to save your fucking money. Save it. Save as much as you can. Now, if my husband and I lived solely paycheck to paycheck, there's zero way we could have afforded to make this move. Now, money is not power, but money does give you the freedom to make the changes in your life that are powerful. I'll say that again for the people in the back. Money does not equal power, but money does equal freedom. Save your money. Now, take this however you want, but I'm not suggesting eating ramen every day. What I'm saying is make micro decisions, micro changes in your daily life. Those will give you the freedom to make macro moves in your future. That is the ultimate freedom. That is a power to shape your own future. Who doesn't want that, right? So there are a bazillion blogs and podcasts and all the things out there about living within your means, but truly that's what it comes down to. Do you need a 4,000 square foot house when a 2001 that's half the price would be sufficient? Maybe not. Shop at Aldi or whatever reasonable grocery store there is near you. Buy a good car, but not the best car. Is a Lamborghini the best way to go when you're just going to and from work? Nah, it's pretty badass, but don't really need it, you know? Do you need the fancy new MacBook that came out this September? Well, it's beautiful, but you probably don't. Buy a refurbished laptop. Save yourself $2,000, $3,000. That's a big decision, not a micro decision. Or buy a used cell phone instead of buying one that's brand new right now this season. That is also a big decision. You could easily save yourself $2,000 right off the bat. These are all money moves that you can make now to allow future you the freedom to make whatever big moves professionally or financially that you want to make in the future. A dear friend once said to me, and I will never forget this, "You'll never get rich by giving someone else your money." And boy, was she right. You know, bananas are the same no matter where you go get them. So why not save a couple bucks every week when you buy bananas? You know, like small choices. I know it sounds completely ridiculous and you could beat a dead horse here, but it matters. Save your damn money. Don't subscribe to all the streaming channels. Buy your own or make your own coffee instead of buying your own coffee. Micro changes add up. Knowing my value, my professional self-worth, paired with years of making micro decisions like living within our means, allowed me to make the powerful move in my life to quit my 9-to-5 job. And it was not a decision I took lightly. It was very hard. But I tell you what, I'm having a fantastic time. I'm learning so much about myself and where I want to go in life, and I'm getting a lot done, and that feels pretty great. So what have I learned over the past however many months of fun employment? And what could you learn from all of this? It's actually quite a lot. I was surprised when I sat down and was thinking about this episode. So the first thing I learned is that it's way, way more difficult to wind down than you would expect. I always joke that I was practicing retirement. I was going to, dig in and be so chill. Yeah, hasn't always turned out that way, let's just say. So up until the day that I left my job, I had been working full-time for, well, in one job or another for nearly 30 years. That's a really long time, like 30 years. That's people, like that's an age. That's not just, that's a lot. So that's a long time. I chose not to have children. So the only things that have interrupted my professional career have really been vacation days and holidays. So that 30 years is a fairly consistent 30 years of being in the workplace. Early on, after quitting, felt pretty cool. Just sort of felt like vacation. I could go to Target at 10 a.m. just because I could, and I'd spend the day reading or on the phone with family and friends and just catching up, like all sorts of like staycation type things. Meet friends out for lunch, frivolous things. After the first 2 weeks, the reality of the situation had not really set in yet. It really just felt like I was getting away with something, like everyone was at work and I'm just kind of hanging out, trying to figure out my next move, it didn't feel real. After the vacation phase, the staycation phase came to an end. The next thing that hit was basically mild panic. Remember, I was used to steady paychecks coming in for, roughly 30 years. That's a long time. And now, nothing. So that was an adjustment, right? The honeymoon period was officially over. I found myself hyperfixating on side hustles that'll make millions or be the next big thing. I probably watched 100 videos about finances and investing and side hustles. I updated my resume probably about 20 times. It's beautiful, by the way, but 20 times is excessive. I did things like I dove headfirst into LinkedIn and Indeed, and I went down the rabbit holes of all these jobs in different companies, and I started doing a fair amount of freelance design work, which was pretty great, that keep those graphic design skills rolling and going, and that was healthy, definitely. The next phase in all of this we'll call it, what the fuck am I doing? Am I a failure? So as it turns out, I don't love freelance graphic design work. Sure, the work is truly great, and I am very thankful that I am doing it, but that's the only real part that I enjoy of the freelance design work and marketing work. What I don't love is the fact is that I have to constantly look for new clients. And that's a pretty big part of the graphic design freelance gig equation. You're basically your own ad agency. So taking a pause, a bit of a break here, what's my alternative? I'm I could get a full-time job working for someone else, ideally a remote one, find a side hustle, make zillions of dollars, and retire at 50, which would be absolutely incredible. If you're able to do that, good for you. Send me an email and let me know how you did it, because that would be amazing. If any of you are currently looking for a job, you probably also noticed that it's tough as hell to find a job right now. It's the wild, wild west out there. So many people are vying for all the jobs, and they're all online, and between LinkedIn and Indeed and all the other platforms I've been applying for jobs on, I roughly, 5 to 10 jobs a week. That is a lot of research, a lot of time. But even with all of that, I have only had a handful of interviews. Thankful for them, but it's great practice. But I didn't get any of the jobs. Still no full-time gig. I'm a great designer. I'm a great person. Hire me. Come on. Anyway, I could speculate for hours as to why I've not been hired yet, but it's not going to do any good. But maybe I'll tell you a few. So I'm not sure, but maybe people don't want to hire people with this much experience. Not to tout myself, but I've been designing for a long time, and I am actually pretty good. Maybe they only put the ad online because HR made them, and they're actually just gonna, interview 3 random people that they find and hire their best friend, which is what they wanted to do in the first place. Maybe who knows? Who knows? But maybe I'm missing the bigger point here in all of this. Maybe the universe is giving me this time to dig into something new. Maybe it's time to finish my book that I'm procrastinating on. That would be kind of cool. Maybe this is the universe giving me the time and space to pursue this. Maybe Shifty Bitches is going to become a thing. Who knows? What I do know is I am genuinely better at helping other people than I am at helping myself. Maybe this podcast is the manifestation of that. Maybe I'm supposed to keep doing this. Maybe I'm supposed to be helping random people from this silly podcast. Who knows? What I do know, it is a very interesting opportunity. As a graphic designer and a marketeer, I can blend my design and my editing and my filmmaking and my writing skills all in one place, which is kind of interesting. It's fun, honestly. I get to flex all those muscles. Honestly, when it really comes down to it, who the hell knows? Maybe I'm delusional. Time will tell. Or maybe I'm really supposed to make something out of my side hustle. And now a word from our non-sponsor, Pocklet. What the hell is a pocklet, you say? Excellent question. It's a small pocket you loop around your bra or your belt to hide cash, credit cards, or even your passport, or even small items while you're on the go. They're completely washable and dryable, unlike the competition. So visit Pocklet.com today. Use promo code SHIFTYBITCHES, all one word, to get 20% off at checkout. Sorry, couldn't resist. Shameless plug. Anyway, so maybe this time is being carved out for me by the universe to do, well, who the hell knows? What I do know is that having this time to slow down, to actually peel myself out of this 9-to-5 grind, to dig into my brain and my heart has been rather priceless. I'm so fortunate to have a partner in life that could see that value too. So shout out to my sweetie. Hi, Kat. For now, I'm going to stay the course and try to find a great graphic design, marketing, or advertising position out there in the wild, wild west. So if you know of anything, email me, preferably remote. Anyway, so I'm going to keep brainstorming and do what I can to keep my mind and my heart open to inspiration and opportunity, because they kind of show up in funny places, often when you least expect them. For instance, this. this Shifty Bitches situation. 3 months ago, I never would have believed you if you had told me I was going to start a podcast. Never. And here we are. Surprise opportunity. Going forward, I'm going to keep tuning into podcasts and tuning into people who inspire me, keep spending time with the people that fuel my soul, and keep myself ready and open to new opportunities that present themselves. Maybe Shifty Bitches isn't it for me. That's okay. Maybe it's meant to leapfrog me into something else. Who really knows? But you know what? I'm ready for it. Going forward, I'm going to keep tuning into the podcasts and people that inspire me. I'm going to keep spending time with those people that fuel my soul and keep myself ready and open to new opportunities as the universe presents them, really. Maybe Shifty Bitches isn't meant to be a thing. Maybe it's meant to leapfrog me into something else. Who knows? But I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. Let's see what happens. So, what do I hope you take away from all of this? I hope you take the time to discover your worth. I hope you get energized and start saving your money so you can make power moves when you are ready, whatever that move may look like. And lastly, I hope you're inspired to listen to the big, beautiful universe and to be open to the new opportunities that present themselves, to finding what fuels your soul and hopefully fills your pocketbook, because that's always nice. As always, thank you for tuning in to the Shifty Bitches podcast. I'm honored you chose to join me, and I look forward to shifting to another topic with you very soon. Ciao.